The Angels beat the Cubbies 7-4 on Tuesday night, and John and I got to experience the game live. We're going to share the sights and sounds. Plus, I need your help to solve a mystery. It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And the best way to help us out is by giving us a rate and a review. And those watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed and click the bell to be notified every time a new episode drops. And today's show is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. And when you do, enter the promo code LockedOnMLB, and they'll throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with every order.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, we've been fans of this team for years, Mike, and so it's our pleasure to talk Angels baseball every single weekday, Monday through Friday. But you know what? Even though we've been fans of this team for years, this year especially feels really great because we got to meet so many Locked On everydayers at the ballpark last night. That was so much fun. If you're Locked On everydayer, just like Mike and I, then tune in on Friday and get your Fan Mail Friday questions into us. We'd love to answer your questions. On today's show, we're recapping last night's game against the Cubs. We're going to give you a recap of the game itself and then our personal experiences at the game. Mike, let's talk about that big win. Angels beat the Cubs 7-4. They had some big hits from runners in scoring position or with runners in scoring position, guys coming through. And it all started with that Ohtani home run that wasn't quite sure if it was a home run when it hit the wall, but then it ended up being a home run. I was ticked off when they didn't send him at third base for an inside the park home run. Fortunately, he didn't actually have to go for that inside the parker, but yeah, we also had some other clutch hits, right, Mike?
Yeah, it was really fun to be there live. And Johnny, on that home run from Ohtani, we couldn't see because we're in right field, and so you lose kind of the perspective of the outfielder and the ball
under
and so
the scoreboard.
Yeah, and so we didn't know what had happened, and so as we're watching Ohtani run, we're like, inside the park, this is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got held up at third, the entire right field stands was just like, he could have made it.
Yeah, we all booed too.
Rolling, right? And then we saw that it actually did go over the line. But the big thing in this game, Johnny, was big hits and with runners in scoring position.
Yeah.
Mike Trout came through. How about Mikey Trout?
Mm-hmm.
And then Matt Thaiss came through. And they needed to, John, because Tyler Anderson helped the Cubs to a 4-0 start. I mean, he was really struggling, John. And the interesting thing was I leaned over to my buddy after the Angels took the lead. And I said, you know what this means? It means Tyler Anderson gets the win. And so, I mean, he kept the Angels in the game and did go 5 innings. And that's what we need from a starter. But he just seems to be pretty inconsistent when it comes to like what he's doing out there. He did say that he was better out of the stretch. He was executing better with his pitches. In his few final innings in the second and third inning, he said, I think having aggressiveness on the mound is definitely a lot better than being timid. And I feel like I've been pitching timid. What is with this team talking a lot about pitching? I don't understand why that's something that they're struggling with. What is that, John?
Why is there a narrative that everybody's pitching scared, pitching timid? Don't you think, like, look at somebody like Carlos Estevez. That guy goes out there and is a bulldog, Mike. Yeah. And I caught Trent Rush on the post game on the way home, driving home, and he actually got to interview Carlos Estevez. And his attitude about finishing the game, even though he gave up the 2 hits, he said, what did you think about that? And he goes, you know what? I was like, I got those 2 hits, and I was like, come on, man. Let's just close the door. Let's just do this. Let's go. And I was like, that's what I want to hear from my closer. Man, his 15th save and his many chances. Mike, he's almost tied Troy Percival, who had 16 in a row to start the season in 2001. And here we are, Carlos Estevez, 1 save away from tying who is widely regarded as the Angels' best closer, him and K-Rod, right? Like, you could really do a toss-up there. But to have that bulldog mentality, everybody needs to glean from Carlos Estevez, especially the pitchers on the mound. That was incredible. How about Chris Devenski coming in, bailing out Jacob Webb, one pitch and a double play to get out of that inning. And then he comes back in again and strikes out each of the batters in that one. So that was great to see. Mike, I got a gripe, and I saw it right in front of me from left field because I was sitting in 205
I know
under the hood.
Here it comes.
You know what's coming. Taylor Ward, man, watching that ball fall right in front of him. And I even caught it on the screen. You know, there's the TV broadcast under the hood. So it's kind of hanging down in front of you. They cut to Tyler Anderson, and he just went,
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, man, I think we all felt that way with Taylor Ward letting that one fall in front of him. So correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, maybe it was my perspective. Maybe I just couldn't tell. Somebody on Twitter did say, hey, you had a great seat to see Taylor Ward let that ball fall in front of him. So maybe I'm not the only one who saw that.
No,
but man, that was so frustrating.
You were right. And in right field, I mean, we were far away from it, but even our friends that were Cubs fans were like, why did it fall in front of him? I mean, he literally was running and hustling, and then he just pumped the brakes and stopped. And speaking of defense, John, it's just so comforting to have Zach Neto on that field. It was that double play when Devenski threw that one pitch and got the double play. Neto is just so smooth. He is leaps and bounds ahead of anybody else at shortstop, and he just really solidifies that defense. And I know he's been struggling with the bat. I don't care. He needs to be in there defensively because his glove is as good as a strong bat. Remember last year we talked a lot about Squid being out there and like, hey, his glove can actually help with his broken bat. And if the rest of the lineup was strong, it would have actually been great to have him in the lineup. Well, Zeto isn't Squid, but Neto certainly has a.
I like that Zeto. There you go.
I'm just trying to save time. He's just so good out there, and his bat's going to come around again. Like he's going to be good. Remember, he played college ball at this time last year. Yeah, but there is just something about him, man. And what I loved about the game last night was Phil Nevin wasn't messing around. No, he brought in defensive replacements. He moved pieces around. Suddenly Neto's in there and Walsh is in there. And I loved that because he wasn't going to mess around. And even
Gio's over at third. And
even when Anderson was struggling, they brought up Tucker Davidson. He was already throwing. And so I love that they're like, we're not doing this. And Anthony Rendon being back, he actually was interviewed and he said, I want to bring a sense of urgency to this team. And I felt that last night at the stadium.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great to see, like you said, those defensive replacements because Rengifo started at short and then you had the option you take Rendon out. It's his first game back in 3 weeks. You're up. So you just need defense from that point on. So it was great to see Urshela move to third. Walsh came in at first, Neto at shortstop. And like I mentioned, Gio made that tremendous play from third base. Yeah. And then how about the double up off the bag too? That was great. They caught that ball and doubled up the runner on second. Just so sorely needed defense. Mike, it just felt like a clean game where everybody contributed on the mound in terms of the bullpen, at the dish in terms of hitting, and then in the field. It felt like everybody really contributed in this one, other than that, Taylor Ward letting that drop in front of him. But we can forgive that because he put on an add-on run later on in the game with that home run. Yep. And but it was just up and down, a clean game for once. And it's like, man, if this team is firing on all cylinders, that's who they can be. Right. That's the team that they can be, and the team they're supposed to be. Right. And I hope that they continue to make good decisions like this in terms of bringing in good defense when it matters the most. Right.
Johnny, there was a great stat on Twitter, and it's somebody that we're connected with. I can't remember the Twitter handle, but they had a stat that said like when the Angels actually like do things right, they can win 83% of their games. I think
was classic cards.
Classic cards, yes. And they just are great at bringing out some great stats. But that was what we saw last night was the team was the team being the team and the team that we thought they could be. There wasn't unearned runs, there wasn't errors. It was just the team playing like they could. And again, high five to Phil Nevin. He managed really well last night, and he wasn't going to waste time. 5th inning, Rendon, see ya, right? I mean, he was like, we're going to put the right guys in the right places because we're not going to lose this game.
Hey, the Angels are sitting at 32-30 now and have won 2 in a row. So maybe they could keep up this play against the Cubs for the rest of the series. They're playing them again tonight, 6:38 Pacific time. Catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, you and I are going to share our personal experiences from the game. And Mike needs your help to solve a mystery. We're going to talk about that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's so easy to get caught up in what everyone else needs from you and never taking a moment to think about what you need from yourself. We can spend all our time giving, and it can leave us feeling stretched thin and burned out. And that's why therapy is really helpful. It gives you the tools to find a more balanced life so that you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind. And if you're interested in therapy, online therapy is actually something you should give a try to. Check out BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on a journey of self-discovery from wherever you are. It's helpful in learning positive coping skills, setting boundaries, empowering you to be the best version of yourself. And it isn't just for those that have experienced major trauma. It's for everybody. And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you got to do is fill out a brief questionnaire to start. You're going to get matched with a licensed therapist. And if you don't like that therapist, you can switch for free anytime, no additional charge. You can discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB today. You'll get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnMLB.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Locked On Everydayers, don't forget to join us Friday for Fan Mail Friday. Get your questions in all week long. Just let us know it's for the mailbag. Hey, the Angels are playing the Cubs again tonight, 6:38 Pacific time. Catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels. Mike, as we continue our conversation on last night's game, we're talking about your experience, and you need us to help you solve a mystery. What in the world happened to you last night?
You're gonna laugh at me, and everybody's gonna laugh at this. So we got there early and got there during batting practice, which was awesome. Traffic was fantastic, so we didn't have to get stuck anywhere. So my wife and I are waiting for our friends, and we had a bottle of water and our jackets, and we put our jackets on, and she was like, "Hey, let's go down to those food trucks." So for those that haven't been to the stadium, left field normally has a bunch of food trucks that are delicious. There's this one truck that has like good French fries with carne asada on top of it. Come to find out, they weren't there that night. So we walked all the way over and they weren't there. But we went to set down our water, and then she had peanuts in her hand. And she said, "Should I take them with me or should I leave them here?" And I said, "I just leave them here. Just put them under the chair." So we put them all the way under the chair, went to get our food, came back. And as we walked up, I looked down and I immediately noticed that the peanuts were gone. And from behind me, my wife goes, "Peanuts are gone, aren't they?" And I said, "Yeah, they're gone." And so we sat down, and then I went into like detective mode. I'm looking around like, who's eating peanuts right now? Is that guy eating peanuts? And then I started accusing people in my mind. I'm like, it's probably them.
That guy definitely did.
That guy has kids. Are they eating peanuts? What are those? So here's what I need, Angel fans, for those that were there last night, maybe in right field. Do you see anybody eating peanuts? and maybe if you know him, call him out, because I think it was our peanuts.
The mystery of the peanuts needs to be solved. So if you were under the scoreboard in right field and you saw somebody, report to the FBI, the CIA, and us at Locked On Angels on Twitter.
Yes,
that'd be great.
Yes, please. Okay, so it was a great experience last night. We had some friends that are from Chicago. They live now here in California, and we're able to hang with them. A longtime Locked On viewer and listener, RJ, and his wife were there, and
Nice.
These friends from Chicago had their kids with them. So great. John, it was so cool to see Landon Crouch sing the national anthem and take me out to the ball game. Landon is a Locked On viewer and listener and has just been a great support to us. And so it was great to hear him sing. He crushed it. That's a good job. It was also really cool just to hang out with the friends that we were there with. But Johnny, the best part, I think, was being able to see the Locked On listeners and viewers.
I know.
You and I went to record our Locked On Now by the Rocks, and we had this crowd gather around us, and I thought they were there to just heckle us. I was like,
nerds
guys,
doing your video,
right?
nerds.
Yeah, right? I thought that's what it was, right? So once we finished, they came up nicest guys in the world.
Yeah.
One of them was like ham and everydayer. And so it was cool to get a photo. So all of that was posted on our social media. So if you want to check it out, you can. Johnny, I solved another mystery last night.
Okay.
I know why the Angels struggle when it gets 0-2 on the opposing batter or when they get 0-2 when they're up at the plate. Do you know why?
What is it?
Did you notice that they played music every single time?
Oh my gosh, it drove me insane.
And it was like annoying, like distracting music. And I was like, no wonder they can't focus during this time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like
it was like Inception. It was like the dream music. What in the world? Like, I understand they're trying to amplify like the momentum of the moment, the seriousness of the moment. But it was so distracting, and it was the worst,
super distracting,
like butt rock I've ever heard in my life, Mike.
Butt rock.
Butt rock.
I like that. Copyright that. Yeah. Being in right field was a whole lot of fun. It was such a great crew that was out in right field. It is hard to see, and I forgot about that. It is hard to see once the fly ball gets to a certain point in right field.
I have never sat out there again because I went to game 1 of the playoffs in 2014 against the Royals and sat there and number one, couldn't see anything going on. I couldn't see the Royals robbing the Angels of all those hits like they were in center field.
Yeah.
And number 2, it's a cursed spot for me now. I'm never sitting back there again.
Ever again. Yeah.
Never again.
I was kind of surprised to see Moniak out there, but I know that they were giving Hunter Renfroe a night off. Moniak really didn't have too much action out there. The one big frustration last night, Johnny, and I know we talked a bit about Tyler Anderson, was it was the catcher for the Cubs, I believe.
John Gomes.
Batting like, what was he batting, like $179, or maybe it was somebody else. That was
somebody else. It was it Mervis?
It was Mervis, right? And when he came up in that, I think it was the second inning or third inning when they scored 4 runs, and there were 2 runners on, I looked back at my friends and I said, don't worry, this is the type of guy that's going to just like crush us in this moment. And the very next pitch, he hits a double down the right field line. And our buddy RJ was like, you called it. And I said, isn't this just like so Angels? They have the guy at the bottom of the lineup that they're up 0-2 on, and he hits a crushing double down the left field line. So luckily Tyler Anderson was able to rebound, but they got to clean that stuff up, man, because that's where we're going to get really hurt by the better teams, because some of those lineups, like Texas, for example, I don't think anybody in the Texas lineup right now has an OPS under 800, John.
Yeah, they're relentless, Mike. Yeah, it was our friend Bryce Patrick from Locked On Rangers said, I think it was Nathaniel Lowe got a double, and that raised his OPS. And then everybody in the Rangers lineup has an OPS over 800. I'm not sure if that still stands after last night, but still, man, just they are a relentless lineup, and you can't make those mistakes. You can't let those things happen. Mike, you're talking about Tyler Anderson. 5 innings with 4 earned runs. Would you feel more comfortable if it was like 1 run in the first, 2 in the second, 1 in the third, or you want to get it all, the bad juju, out of the way in 1 inning? How did you feel about that in the moment?
I was glad that he rebounded, and he has done that this year. And I think that I don't know what his FIP is. I'd love to look at that because his ERA is high, but I think that in the first inning and also in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, he was able to really shut the door. And that's what you want from a Tyler Anderson. He's not going to be your ace, right? But he is going to be somebody that can help give you some innings. I'd love to see him go 6, maybe even 7. But I think if you're going to get it all out of the way and then you're going to be strong, I would rather have that than to have it just be like bleeding all the way through. Yeah. And so I like that it was 4 runs and then we were done. The only issue that I have then is the Angels at some point, they're going to need to put some runs together. And so that 5-run, I think 5th inning that they had was perfect, but they haven't done that too often this season. And then when they did load the bases, Taylor Ward hits that home run at 7-4. Then they load the bases with nobody out. Johnny, they didn't score any runs.
They didn't.
So that's what we've run into. So
strikeout, double play.
Right. It made me a bit nervous because you didn't know if they were going to actually tack on some runs. So that go-ahead run from Taylor Ward was great. And so to answer your question, I think I'd rather have it like hit us hard, but in that hard hit, the Angels have to be able to come back and they have to be able to put some runs on the board and put a 5 spot, put a crooked number up there.
Yeah, it's great to see them put up a 5 spot after they were down, rather than putting it all up in the first inning and then going quiet for the rest of the game, as they have done many times this season.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs is a clothing company that's all about your comfort. And when you wear pants and shorts from Bird Dogs, you're going to look good and feel good. Take the Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts, for example. They fit way better than regular shorts because they aren't made of stiff, restricting cotton. But instead, Bird Dog shorts are made of cloud knit fabric, Johnny. How about that? And they make you look good and feel good. It's khaki, but it stretches. And it has a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Bird Dogs also uses anti-stink and sweat fabric that will keep you cool and keep you dry all day long. So whether you're on the golf course or at a meeting, on a date, or hanging out with friends, Bird Dogs pants and shorts work for everyone. So check out birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB to get yourself a pair of pants and shorts. And when you do, use our promo code LockedOnMLB, and Bird Dogs will throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti-style tumbler with your order. Again, that's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB. Use our promo code LockedOnMLB. You're not going to want to take your Bird Dogs clothing, your pants, your shorts. You're not going to want to take them off. They're so comfortable. We promise you that. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB today.
Okay, Mike, getting into our last segment of the day, I wanted to share a few things from my experience. First of all, it was a great time with my wife and her dad, Alan. We got to take him to this game in honor of his birthday coming up and Father's Day. And he's a big Cubs fan. Grew up in Chicago, worked in Chicago, used to go to Wrigley Field all the time before they had lights, and would go to day games. And he was telling us a story about how his company would have tickets. They had season seats, so they would take clients to games and things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So this was the perfect time to go to our first game together. We've never been to a baseball game together, so it was Cubs Angels, perfect time to go. And I actually had some attachment to it because as those of you who have been following us since last season, I got to go to Wrigley, and my wife and I got to tour Wrigley, and that was a lot of fun. The Cubs weren't there while we were in Chicago, but that was great. So we had this incredible time together. But Mike, I have found the new move from now on. Are you ready for the move?
You stop short? No, what is it?
That was a great Seinfeld reference. The move, and Orange County natives are going to laugh at me, and they probably are like, yeah, duh. But just for those who haven't heard this before, the move is this. You go to Karl Strauss, and you park there, and you pay $20. But then when you go inside and spend $20 or more, you get your parking validated. You can stay at Karl Strauss. You can leave your car there and walk over to the Big A. Oh, man, the best idea ever. We had dinner, we had drinks, and it was incredible. We got there about 4 o'clock, so there was plenty of time. That's the thing, is you want to get there early so that you can get a spot. But then there were a ton of Cubs fans in there, too. I was really surprised. But, Mike, here's the thing. When I went to Star Wars night with my friend and my wife, I realized just how quickly these games are going in person.
Yeah.
And you and I love it when we're at home watching it on TV, because that means we can record right after, we can get our stuff done and go to bed, for goodness sake. So the quick games are great for us when we're at home, but the entire experience of being at the ballpark, I think, has changed. And you don't have a lot of time to get up and get a drink or dessert or food and things like that. And so after I had that experience back in April, I told my wife, I said, you know what I want to do? I heard that you can do this. Let's go down to Anaheim early. Let's go get dinner and drinks at Karl Strauss. And then when it's game time, we can walk on over, and we'll already have had our food. We'll already have had our drinks. And honestly, it was kind of nice because we ate, we had our drinks, we walked over, we sat down. I got to watch the whole game. I didn't worry about like, man, I'm kind of thirsty. I kind of want to get this, or I kind of want to get that. And it really saved the game for me, the experience of being there, because last time it was such a hassle to, number one, get there on time from Pasadena, and you're worried about game time starting. And then by the time you sit down, the game's moving so fast. It's, the second inning all of a sudden, because of the pitch clock and the new rules and all that stuff. And again, I'm not complaining. I think it's great when you're watching it on TV. I think it's just changed the whole ballpark experience. But man, it was so great to get food, and honestly, the food and the beers and things like that, lot cheaper at Karl Strauss than what you're going to pay for inside the stadium. So
Yeah.
that's the move, my friends. I highly suggest that. In fact, you can also go to Golden Road next door as well. I don't know if they have as much parking as Karl Strauss. So anybody who's a native to Orange County and Anaheim, you can let me know. But that was a lot of fun. We did that. And then, Mike, there were so many Cubs fans in the stands, which Cubs fans don't bother me. Of all of the teams
they were great.
that come to town, they're like the ones who would bother me the absolute least. And so I had a funny thought because I kind of felt bad because here's what I saw. Rizzo jerseys, Schwarber jerseys,
yes.
Baez jerseys, right? Bryant jerseys. All the guys who have moved on from that championship team to other teams. I think Kyle Hendricks is kind of the only one left from that team.
Yeah.
And I guess David Ross kind of counts too, because he's the manager now, but he was on the team as a catcher, I believe. He's the catcher.
Yep.
So I felt kind of bad because all the jerseys I saw for the Cubs were those guys and not really anybody new. I think I saw a couple of Suzuki jerseys. Yeah. But man, I actually think the Cubs are on an upward trajectory. I think Nico Horner is an incredible player. It's cool that they got Dansby Swanson. I know that was somebody that Angel fans were thinking we could go after. Fortunately, it worked out for us that Zach Neto is a stud and ready to play this year. But yeah, I had a laugh because it was like, you always see that, right? You always see like Bryant and Baez and whenever a team comes to town, it's always like guys from yesteryear rather than the players who are on the team now. And I say that as I wear my Trout jersey, but I want you to know I had a Garrett Richards shirt. I had a Sean Figgin shirt. Yeah. I was getting the deep cuts back in the day when I was just buying Angels t-shirts. So And then of course, Mike, I got to shout out our Locked On Everydayers and the people who said hi to us. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't get everybody's name. I know they said it to me and I was like, yeah, what? Hey, man, you know, that kind of thing. But I know that a follower who's followed Super Halo Bros for a very long time on Twitter, Ty Middlestat, we got to say hi to him. Oh, that's cool. His dad, that was cool. And then Swilly Sports on Twitter. I know a lot of Angel fans follow Swilly. And so we made it a point to get together and say hi. She's always got some great stats. She's always keeping score at the game. She said she's 7-1. 7-1. She keeps score at the game. Finally, Mike, the last thing I'll say in terms of our experience was everybody said you and your brother need to be at the Angel game at the same time more often, because when we're both there, the Angels win, baby.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen today. Remember, the game is tonight at 6:38 Pacific time. Listen, one thing I learned last night, Johnny, was that if you don't go to the games, it can be really frustrating being an Angel fan. But going to the games actually kind of raises your spirits. I know they won, but it actually was great to hang out with Angel fans. You can actually catch every pitch of the hometown broadcast tonight with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow if you haven't done so already at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. If you're at the game, comment below the video on YouTube. Let us know you were there. Give us a shout out. We'd love to hear from you, answer your questions, get into the comment section, and let us know what you thought about last night's game. If you're on the audio side, come on over to YouTube. Comment below the video, get in on the conversation. Hey, Mike, what do we have on deck for tomorrow's show?
Well, I know we won last night. We're hoping for a victory tonight, but that doesn't mean that the Angels still don't need to maybe have like a serious heart-to-heart with one another. So we're actually going to wrestle through this question. If the Angels had a closed-door meeting or a players-only meeting, what would need to be said? And who would need to say it? We're going to talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
That's going to be a good conversation, and we hope that you come back and join us for that one. In the meantime, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us. Thank you for indulging our experiences at the game, and we hope to see you again tomorrow for more Locked On Angels.
Help me find my popcorn or my peanuts.
Yeah, that's right. Find the peanuts.